Well, I believe we are live, folks. Michelle has just gone to grab her tea. I hope everybody is doing well. I was just telling Michelle before we started. Hello, everybody. Tom here. Hope everybody's well. Michelle went to grab her tea, and I'm just home from work. I was telling Michelle, just a crazy day for me. I know we all have them, but it was just like I was working around in my city. I didn't have to travel, which was great, but there's just so much going on, and it's easy to have so much not stress. I can't even speak now. Stress, and working with customers are trying to deal with business and surviving, and it's just the world we live in. So there she is. Woo!
Hey, everybody. I had to go get a tea, and not that I'm off the apple juice. Let's not be crazy. Stop it, Kat. I can't help you. I'm in a meeting. So I just went to get a tea because it helps with things. So that's what I was doing. What were you talking about?
I'm just saying, we have our good days and not as good days, and they're all challenging. So it's just been busy for me. It's weird. I don't forget this feeling. I feel tired, but not tired. I don't feel sleepy tired.
Yeah,
Actually, more, you know what? It's probably more mentally fatigued, right? But it's okay. I went to the gym. I've been 4 times in the last 5 days.
yeah,
Even if I go like today, I snuck out for 10 minutes. That's all I had.
that's okay. 10 minutes is more than 9,
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
than 8, right?
It's not as much as 12, though. No.
That's not the way we're going to focus on that.
No, no.
Absolutely.
So, anyways, yeah. Yeah, I just need to. I'm sure we all go through this where sometimes you just feel like you're in a fog and sometimes you're motivated, right? So I'm back at doing the physical healthy stuff that I can.
Good.
So,
Yeah.
yep,
Excellent. Very good. That's it, right? One day at a time. That's all we can do, right?
all we can do. Yep,
That is all we can do. Hey, I got to show you something fun. I think I gave you one of these, but you have a family mug I made a long time ago. Didn't I give you one?
I do. I have the family mug and I have the family picture.
Yes, I have that too in my kitchen.
Yeah, I sold it on Marketplace, both of them. So somebody could pretend they had a family. No, I didn't.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
just
I
about the
love
people,
that.
right? I'm just here for the people.
Yeah.
Well, welcome everybody. We got a few people on. Wendy, Rachel, and Jacqueline, thanks for joining us
Excellent.
early.
Yeah, so
Um,
glad you're here with us
yeah,
today.
hope you had a good day and a good week. And yeah, it's just like Michelle's going to help me here for a second, but life isn't always full of roses.
Exactly. You got to keep it
But
real.
I'm telling you, 99%, not even 90, is is your mental commitment to not let it bog you down. That's it.
Exactly right.
See?
Exactly right. Perspective. I've heard that a friend of mine or relative has mentioned that 18,000 times, right?
Yeah. I want to mix up the hashtag so you know what you know and you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
Perspective, perceptions. I want to go, you know what your perspective is, but you don't know what your perception is. I want to like make tie dye with.
You're
I
living
know
on
it's
the edge.
horrible. I
You're
apologize.
living on the
I
edge.
take it back.
Don't take it back.
So you want to talk about music?
I did. I wanted to talk about music. Excuse the distraction. I have a cat over here that's not taking me seriously when I say get out of my office.
Is that Al?
No,
Is
no, no.
that the cat?
He's code word.
It's my safe word, the cat.
Exactly. Oh, that's funny. No, this is actually a real cat. And I can't pick him up. He'll scratch me. He just uses me for food. Yeah, I literally reach down and he swats at me. Hey, you big meanie. They're food users. It's like I'm their kibble dealer or something like that. Anyways, I'm ignoring him. So, music. So, in the other room, I have a whole list of things I was going to share. I will go get that shortly. But music is something that we have been exposed to our whole life, full stop. What kind of music did you listen to when you were a kid? It was a country music house, wasn't it?
The joke could be Jailhouse Rock, but I won't say that.
Right.
You want to know something funny? So
Yeah,
as a younger kid, I don't remember music in the house, but
really.
and I don't know if our sister Wendy drops on, she might remember. But I remember my dad George, like you know, when you remember something, like you don't like have a full like tangible memory, but you just
That's right.
know, right?
And snippets. Yeah.
Yeah. So I play guitar and he liked country. And
Okay.
I was too cool for country, right? I was in a rock band. We were doing Led Zeppelin and Rolling Stones, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so,
I get it.
but I remember he'd be there with his buddies. I don't know what I'd be doing, probably a weekend, and he, not working, and they're having a couple of drinks. And he goes, "Hey, go get your guitar. So play what he the Gambler. Who's the Gambler? Kenny
Kenny
Rogers.
Rogers. Yeah.
Know how to fold them. No, so there's always Kenny Rogers, and then there was another guy. I can't remember his name. So to be honest, I felt used.
Oh, it was what everybody did in those days,
Yeah.
right? They
So for
forced
me, the
themselves on
country,
country.
but the music that I liked. So I started playing guitar 11, 12, and then my journey with music was really good therapy for me, and it was like it was something that was a not a deflection, but I started playing guitar when I was young. My best friend who had the guitar, I didn't have a guitar at the time, was like he's still playing the scenes in Toronto. My friend Fraz, right, Fraser,
Oh, cool.
and he's awesome. Didn't talk for like 40 years, just different lives, and we
Of
reconnected a few
course.
year back.
Yeah.
But so we started playing, and then we ended up like playing in little bands and doing little things and different things like that. But I grew up, so and when we were young, we went to a lot of concerts in Toronto, Maple Leaf Gardens. So
Oh,
probably from the
okay.
age of 13 to 16, 17, I'm pretty sure I saw hundreds of concerts.
Nice.
Bands like Genesis, yes, um, we went to Canada Jam and we saw like we didn't want to see the Village People; they were there, but the Ramones, Ted Nugent,
Yeah.
uh,
Nice.
Triumph, Aerosmith saw about 5 times. Loved Aerosmith, right?
Wow.
So that rock and roll feel, and we had
Yeah.
friends that were Kiss freaks that would go to school with the platform shoes and um, the makeup, and they were hilarious. Hi, Lan.
I
Hi,
love
Sarah.
that. I love
So how
that.
about you? Tell us about you.
So so I come from a big music household. I do not sing, I do not play. Full stop. Let's just get that right out there.
We're gonna see you later.
Yeah, um so my dad was in the theater. He played lead roles at the local theater. He was in two different groups. So I was a theater kid growing up. No country music at all exposure for me, which is sort of funny because as I've got to know Tammy more so, she led me to believe it was real country house. So, which is sort of funny. Excuse me. So, theater music, so like Fiddler on the Roof, The Music Man, those sort of old school musicals. Excuse me, I'm just really struggling today. More tea. Then my mom was into uh, Tom Jones, Neil Diamond, that sort of stuff. My brother Chris was into a lot of the same stuff as my mom, but he was a huge Supertramp fan. So we had the Supertramp element. And then my brother Neil, who, if I were to look up to any, like of the two boys, me and Neil would have been the closest. He was Alice Cooper, uh, Pink Floyd, all those like ones that were just coming out. And Alice Cooper, for example, that was a big deal, right? Ozzy with the bats and
Rat's
all
Head.
that stuff. Oh my gosh, absolutely. And So very interesting, but I didn't have any country. What else didn't I have? That was really probably the main thing that I didn't have. But then as I went through different periods of my life, my music changed. And this is what I was reflecting on a lot of last night when I was sort of making notes for today, thinking about how your music changes. So those were that was my environment. I like Sean Cassidy. I like the Bay City Rollers. I liked REO Speedwagon.
I
Uh,
need therapy.
I'm sure I probably do.
I'm
I'm sure
teasing
I
you.
probably do. One of my favorite songs growing up was One Tin Soldier. Do you know that one? Which is sort of interesting because it ties into me so much today. It's funny because I shared that on my Facebook not too long ago. And a girl I grew up with that's like my cousin, but not my cousin, she says, "It's so funny you posted that. I always think of you when I hear that song." And I think that's weird. But I think I used to really listen to it a lot when she would come over. Do you know what I mean? So those were my influences. But then when I think about different times in my life where maybe I was going through things, those influences would change. Do you know what I mean? Like when two different times that I was between relationships, I listened to different kinds of music. So when I was in between my first ex and my second ex, what a way to categorize. But when I was in between those two, I listened to I listened to more heavy stuff. I listened to Sinead O'Connor. Like, I mean, talk about classic breakup songs. Um, I listened to the Black Crows. I was really big into, and these were just coming out then, right? You have to realize this was 1989, 1990. Um, I also I never went to a bar in my life until I already had two kids and I was like 23 years old. First time to ever walk in. And I used to go just socially when my kids weren't home, they were at their dad's. And so whatever the hopping, like I'd love to dance, I love to jump, all that sort of stuff. So we'd go out and we go dancing. So that was exciting. And then fast track to when I split up with my second ex, Alanis Morissette for the win, Jewel, Angry, all that stuff, Jagged Little Pill, Revenge. You Ought to Know, that's another famous one from Alanis Morissette. So it's interesting how, as you're going through different times, you are, I'm going to say, attracted to different music because it ties in with what you have going on. And, it ties in with one of my favorite sayings, like, you can lose your shit, but don't unpack your bags and live there. And
Sounds
that's
like,
what
is
it's,
that a country song?
no, but it could be. So, it's interesting when you think about, and I'm sure shared this story before, like when you're going through bouts of depression or struggles, if you're surrounding yourself with very sad music, you're keeping yourself stuck there all the time, right? Because you're just reliving um the same thing. Yeah, Elaine, exactly. Woo woo, one tin soldier for the win. So it's we talk about positive affirmations and we
Right,
talk about putting positive things around so that we're reading positive messages. This is
right.
where the music matters too. So it's very do. It's
That's my
very,
work phone. I'll mute.
do they need you? Does somebody need coffee? Quick, somebody get the coffee
It's
stat.
it's it's actually one of my new customers that's opening up a coffee bar. So tomorrow I get to go espresso training.
Ooh, woo, woo.
That's
Wow.
one part of my job.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's so finish your thought, then I'll jump in.
No, I'm not really sure what espresso training is.
So if I want you to stop, I just gotta go.
Apparently squirrel.
So here's an interesting thought because when we met, like we thought about this. Yeah, there's our family.
Yeah, I just like to share them. They're also
Um,
awesome. Tom's on there too.
We have a good group of people. So what we're talking about, people, we have a dozen now more people, which is great. We thought about last week, Michelle and I, what we do is we have topics that are in a bit of our wheelhouse, but we've got broader experience and stuff, right? So one of our thoughts was, what about music, right? So we were just saying earlier about what music we grew up with and stuff. And so feel free in the chat, type in some music, songs, things that you grew up with. And here's the funny thing. So here's what we know. We know this, right? So we know that on a biological level, I was gonna say chemical, but that sounds like using drugs. That's a whole different story. But on a biological level, we know that music does something to us. We know, talk about meditation, stuff like that, right? So what we know, and you were talking about between husband one and two and or exes, whatever you call them.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting. I never thought about this till you mentioned this last week about doing kind of a timeline, but kind of a timeline about music influence, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And one of the things I remember, so I was in, this is another whole conversation, but I don't know if you know this. So I was a theater arts major.
Yeah.
I did a monologue play, Niagara on the Lake. It was called Major Barbara, which is I think Shakespeare. Um, I was the shyest kid, so I had no idea. I must have had to leave my body, right? But in high school, in
Yeah.
grade 11, I had a Tibetan monk that was my teacher, and he was a white dude, curly hair, and so we did transcendental meditation. So for those
Love
of you
it.
that have religious background, whatever, so this isn't about when we share stuff, we're not like discouraging somebody else or promoting whatever. But I grew up French Canadian. We were born Catholic. We weren't practicing Catholic, so I wasn't a religious guy at all, right? But I knew there was something beyond the tangible. I knew there was energy. I knew there was something. Again, not raised in a church home, even though we're practicing, Catholic, right? So, anyways, this Tibetan monk. So, talking about music, I remember he was teaching us in school. I don't know if he would got fired now or whatever. He was teaching us transcendental meditation.
Yeah.
Teaching you to leave your body.
Yeah.
Now, another time we can talk about personal opinion stuff, but back then we did it. We listened to a guy named Mike Oldfield.
Okay.
He had an album called Tubular Bells. Ring a bell?
No.
You froze on us, Michelle.
Your face is for. Can you see me?
Come back.
Am I here? I see you. You're moving.
I see you now, but you froze. Yeah.
Did I freeze?
Was I frozen?
Pretty? You were frozen on my screen, but it might have been me. If you said it was me, it might have been me. But we're both.
It must have been. It must be Zoom. Yeah. But what I was saying, did you hear about Mike Oldfield?
I heard you fine. Yep.
Okay. So you're familiar with that. So that was kind of my first introduction into kind of instrumental music. And I heard stuff like I saw Yes like 3 times at Maple Leaf Garden. So they would have instrumental that would lead into the song, right? So it wasn't like I wasn't exposed to it. This was maybe my first experience to like maybe understanding a bit more music soothing me, right? So anyways, very, very interesting. And then we with that, went through the journey playing music, what worked, what didn't work. And it's funny, I think I asked you this before right now, but if you think of songs you've listened to 1,000 years ago, whenever you were born, do you yes, Rachel. Ooh. So this is for everybody. I'm talking to Michelle, but I'm talking to everybody.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what happened to me. I realize now, if I listen to songs that I used to listen to, I'm surprised and half-time shocked at the lyrics for some of these songs.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Not that they're good or bad, but all of a sudden you go, I didn't know like She Bop, Cyndi Lauper, whatever, right? All of a sudden, like one of my favorite songs is, and I play it all the time. I have my own version of it. It's "Wild Horses" by the Rolling Stones.
Yep.
What a incredible, powerful song. So I don't know back in the day if it was just the music we grooved to or whatever, but it's such an interesting thing at my age now to look back at some of the like Black Sabbath, like you said, or
Exactly. Exactly.
AC/DC, which I love. Their
Yeah.
style of music was great, right?
Exactly right. And you're right, because we get caught up in the beat, or all music has a vibration. We see it all the time. People play music with all sorts of different things with water. You have people, they use those bowls, people who use chimes. If you're a meditator, binaural beats,
I'll be
that's
right back. Keep going though. I'll be right back.
okay. So that's
They're
something.
listening to you. They are listening to you.
I'm not even talking to you, I'm talking to them. So so it's so true, and there's a certain vibration to them. That's why sometimes when you hear different styles of now that's going to be in my head, Rachel Shebop. When you hear different styles of music, sometimes it can make you feel like angry and tense from the vibration, sometimes harmonies. And this is where church music, a lot of times, or different musicals with really intense harmonies, they can make you cry. They trigger an emotion, and it's because of vibration is happening. There's certain hertz, excuse you. There's a there's a certain hertz of music that really resonates with your body and makes you feel good. And it all ties in together. So sometimes what happens is that you have different songs that either you like the beat or you like the vibration from the music, but the words, those intentions that you're hearing, they are terrible. And when you start looking into certain songs and either what they're generated from or what the words are in them, like that, I believe it's a Queen song, Tie Your Mother Down. Do you know that one?
I tried
Okay.
it. Didn't work.
Didn't know. None of my jokes are appropriate. I'm just going to leave them at the door. But if you look at those words, that was one of my favorite songs till I realized that he wants to tie the mother down and rape her. It's terrible. When you look at, another one that's very interesting, the song Jump. The song Jump by Van Halen. Everybody knows it. You're going to curse me later when it's stuck in your head. That was inspired by somebody in the band seeing an article about somebody that was going to jump off a balcony and commit suicide. And it's, you might as well jump. It's amazing. I watched some, and we can't share them because we're going to get all sorts of copyright strikes, and they're going to ruin our video because they're going to bleep it
Even
all
though
out.
I shared one, don't tell anybody.
I'm not telling anybody. But if you look up Mojo, Mojo, so top 10, they have these top 10 or top 20 lists. And I was looking at them last night, and they were talking about all these different songs that are so popular. Black Eyed Peas. Hey, yeah. That was one where it's very negative, and it's about like trickery, like basically singing at you. People will believe anything if it goes to a good beat. And that's exactly what ended up happening. Do you remember that one who let the dogs out?
Yep.
Yeah, Pumped Up Kicks by Foster the People. Exactly, Rachel. It's about
Yep.
school shootings.
So
So
here's the, go
yeah,
ahead, finish your thought.
so you're getting caught up in these songs. I can't feel my face when I'm with you. It's about cocaine because it's true, right? So when you're getting caught up in these and you're singing along, if you're singing the right words, of course, because I'm not very good at that, I tend to make my own up. But if you
Right.
follow the words and you sing along, you're like it's like repeating a mantra, right? And if it's that, so it doesn't have to be those extreme ones, but if it's even, I'm not good enough, I can't live alone, I need someone else to fulfill me, all these other, they had one, it's the most depressing songs of all time, and it's all songs we know, some of them, oh, stalker songs, there's a bunch of those we know. I'll be watching you. Classic stalker song. He says it 14 times in the song. and it's
Talking
right
about Sting?
in. Yeah, yeah. There's another one of Phil Call. There's a whole bunch of stalkerish songs. Do you want me to get my list? It's right over there.
Go. I'm going to talk while you get your list.
Do it. Do
So
it.
here's one of the interesting things. So first of all, if you like the song growing up or even now, whatever, for whatever reasons you liked it, music, whatever, and all of a sudden you find out it was a song about something bad. Um, 1 second. And then if it's something bad, then you don't want to feel guilty. You're not held accountable. I have somebody who is a female artist, a musician, and she gives me a hard time. She goes, "Oh, well, that song, blah blah blah," right? And I'm going, it doesn't make me the devil. It doesn't like so. And so sometime now there's things that we can put into our brain
Yep.
subconsciously, right? So
Right.
so like I was gonna tease you. I was gonna say, you know what song I want at my funeral, at my celebration? Alice Cooper, I Love the Dead. No. I'm joking, everybody, if you don't know me, right? But here's the interesting thing. If there's certain songs on that go on both sides, you go, oh man, that's dark. But when you listen to it, it wasn't dark. It wasn't
Are
if
you
you were
listening to it all though?
but but see, so here's the thing. So I'm gonna rabbit trail and come back. First of all, got something for you.
Oh, I could maybe play that. I could play the spoons. What is that instrument?
So this here, let me take the blur off. The blur is not working for some of this stuff.
I don't even have mine on
Yeah.
today.
So this here, my son loves interesting. So this is, I don't even know what it's called. It's
Some sort
not a
of harp.
harp. It's
Okay.
it's like a lyre.
You're a liar.
You're a liar. So my son likes interesting things. So I got him this a while ago. You know what this is?
Oh, yeah. I don't know the name, but I've seen
A
it before.
didgeridoo. A
Okay.
didgeridoo. I can't play it, so I won't even try.
I've seen some rock bands with them.
Yeah, but yeah, so it's one of those things where you find out that something had a different thing. And here, this is a bad example, but it makes sense. It's like meeting somebody who's charming and he's nice, does whatever, blah blah
Yeah,
blah, and then all of a sudden he's a jerk. You go, oh, you didn't know he's a jerk, right?
right.
So I think sometimes you can. I think like to me, I've had people. Maybe say this way: I've had people who've tried to use guilt against me about what I listen to. Um, and I'll
Terrible.
say this for the people here, like Michelle knows me, I'm her brother, of course she knows me.
I hope so.
You know what? Wasn't raised in religion. I don't like religion. I do music at church. I'm not actually, if I offend somebody, I offend the religious people. I don't offend my people, my customers that are Sikh or anything else. Doesn't matter, whatever. I'm really chill. Like people, like you have the freedom to make your own decision, right?
Yeah.
But I have people that, so whatever. If you go to church, you can laugh at me or send texts to Michelle, not me. But and Michelle's seen me or heard me, so I'm fine, pretty good, right? And I'll all of a sudden a song from my past, and maybe
Yeah.
YouTube Can't Live Without You or something, right? And I'm not scared
That's
to
on
do
my
it.
list, with or without you. You too. Saddest songs ever.
Yeah. So the thing is there. So what I realized, one of the songs that I love. So Cyndi Lauper, I mentioned earlier. So Cyndi Lauper, um, I know she looks like. I don't remember. I know she did She Bop. I don't know how the song goes. I know it's about inappropriate, whatever, isn't that right? I just know from later.
Girls just want to have fun.
Yeah, yeah. So anyways, there was a song. If you fall, time after time.
Time after time. Yes.
So check this out.
Classic.
I don't know. I know I didn't listen to Cyndi Lauper. Was not on my list of listening. She
Right.
wasn't cool enough for me, right? She was a whatever, right? And
So
so
cool.
I was in a live setting. I don't know where it was. I think it was I was doing Acoustic Emporium. So I was doing this music thing we used to do, this live music. And in between an original song and then I was doing Wild Horses, I transitioned to the chorus of Time After Time.
Oh,
Michelle
cool.
and people, I'm not even joking. I have never done that I've never done that song in my life. I didn't even
Yep,
realize I knew the words. We'll get back to
right.
words.
Yep.
Um, and I was shocked. And then
Love that.
I went and listened to it, and I thought, what a beautiful, by the way, what a beautiful chorus
Mhm.
saying, like, if you fall, whatever, I'll catch you time
I'll
after
catch you.
time, right?
Yep,
So, so in this thing about songs and the influence, subconscious, and not conscious, there's a funny, for the 90s, for the 70s, for those who are around. It's interesting the influence they'll have, or even like you said, Michelle, and sometimes listen to angry music, like country music. The joke is it's always about losing your dog and losing your wife and whatever, right?
right.
Listen to country now. Country's gone into
Love
like
it.
folk, right?
Shania
A
Twain.
surprise fact. I PVR TV. I watch a lot of TV, but I PVR. I can multitask, whatever. So I watch America's Got Talent. Not one of my favorite, but whatever.
Oh,
There's
I
the
do
odd thing in
too.
there.
Yep,
So you know what's big right now is you're getting people that go on there. There's 1,000 Taylor Swifts, like whatever, right? There's so
sure.
many talented, but
That's right.
so I was watching a PVR, and you're having these people that are like, you can't reinvent the wheel. Everything in every type of Red
Right.
Hot Chili Peppers, Taylor Swift, Madonna, like there's really nothing new under the sun, right? But all of a sudden you're getting these authentic, transparent people.
Yep.
There was a woman that was on there years ago and who passed away with cancer.
Yes. Nightbird, wasn't it?
Nightbird,
Nightbird.
incredible, vulnerable. So
Yeah,
that, what did people connect with? The lyrics.
exactly.
This
Exactly.
song about pain and suffering, but I'm going to get through this. I'm going
Yeah.
to embrace the moment, right? I
Yeah.
follow her. She's
Gonna
like,
be okay, okay, okay. I think that's how that went. Something like
yeah, yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
very
So
good.
it's interesting how in and out things go, like with things in like music, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you brought up that time after time. So, and I'm not getting out of tinfoil hat, we're programmed. Who knows where you heard that? But like when you think about, and it's so interesting because back in the day, we were exposed to people by intention, but we were also exposed to AM and FM radio. We had our favorite radio stations we listened to. We always had the radio station going on in the doctor's office. We had the radio station that was going on in the car, in the elevator. Like this was way before SOCAN. Now you can't
Yeah,
have it anywhere because anyways, they charge you for everything. But it's so interesting because over your whole life, going all the way back to nursery rhymes, you've been programmed with a genre of music or a kind of music. And then, of course, it comes back to perception. Now, I think when you were saying about like people giving you a hard time, it goes back to moderation, right? So just because I know about Tie Your Mother Down, if it was on, I wouldn't say turn that off. I'd probably still sing along to the parts that I know, but I would have to have a conscious decision, same as Jump, although I've never been a Van Halen fan, because everybody I knew played it in their basement. I got Van Halen out real quick, right? Back in the 80s. Um, but even with that, we're always getting that influence and it's always playing with our mindset,
yeah,
right? What that environment is. So it really makes a difference. And again, how you transition. So it's so funny because never been into country music. But when I was in my Alanis Morissette angry era, I also got really into Shania Twain. And I mean, some people would argue that she's not really country, but she's Canadian, she's beautiful, and she's like rockabilly, really, if you wanna get into it, right? So I think that's such an important part of it because though whenever we talk about like was it last week we talked about how do you cope, one of the ways a lot of people cope is music, but then it goes back to what are you listening to? And we're in a day and age where you have more control than you think. Do you have everybody has a Spotify list or YouTube pages. So setting up your list, you're really, oh, Meatloaf, big fan of that too growing up, right? That's another one. If you look at the words, you might think, depending on what song it is, you might think a little bit differently. But I think if we want to set ourselves up for success, then you want to listen to power songs. You want to listen, like, oh my goodness, let's see. It was probably about 15 years ago that I decided that I was gonna, and I don't know if I saw something on a documentary, but you can go to lyrics.com or you can pull up a song on YouTube and pick the lyric version or the karaoke version so you can see the words, right? Um, so once I started really looking, because for my radio stream, I was really being careful what music I was playing. So I was listening to every song first. And today I have a free audio stream runs through my house. It's like 25 hours of positive music, not saying it's not positive, like annoying, Michelle, you're ridiculous, you're so positive. But it's
Yeah.
like Peaches is on there. Do you know Peaches? Peaches for me, Peaches for you. No, these are the Daves I know. That's on there. Lots of songs from cartoons. I'll
Those are,
link it at some
those are
point.
girl songs.
Um, Peaches, our cousin, our brother Jimmy loves that song. Yeah, he certainly was a genius. Rachel's talking about meatloaf for the win, and we're not talking about the kind you eat. But if you're looking at, having a healthy mindset, creating a positive playlist is definitely going to help you. And again, you don't have to set it up in a way that you're totally like, I'm a little extreme because I was using it for a radio stream, but I still listen to lots of stuff. So when I was going through these videos, um, I can see clearly now it's a misunderstood song. Jump encourages suicide of monsters and men. Um, a song there was about a deceased person. Green Day basket case about being paranoid. Some nights. That's another one. It's got a mixed message. Do you remember Electric Avenue? I'm not singing. From the 80s, that
I didn't
Electric
listen to
Avenue.
disco. Disco was as bad as country
Yeah. So disco.
or
I didn't
funk,
listen to
whatever you
disco
called it.
either, but it would have been a dance song. So
Yeah.
Electric Avenue, it was about the Brixton riots in UK in the 1980s. So it was about going in and like smashing things and exactly, Rachel, great fun songs. What else was there? You Can Call Me Al by Paul Simon. That was about him being pissed off that a guy called him Al instead of
Yeah.
Paul. So just, when you think about those things, sad songs, Don't Speak, no doubt. No, Don't Speak is the name of the song, just in case you don't know. No Doubt is the name of the band. Beautiful voice. And she's literally saying, Don't speak. I don't want to hear from you anymore. With or without you, you too. We belong together. Mariah Carey, Nothing Compares to You, Sinead O'Connor, Unbreak My Heart. That's another one. All ones that it's okay once in a while, but it's not something you're going to want to listen to all the time. One that really stood out to me that they talked about a lot was the classic Dolly Parton / Whitney Houston song, I Will Always Love You. Do you know that one? So
I
everybody,
got therapy to get rid of the country songs.
yeah. Well, no, this is not country. This is Whitney Houston and Dolly Parton. It's more. It's a really sad, depressed. Well, it depends. This is what makes it interesting. Dolly Parton was breaking up with a band and a bandmate, and she wrote this song as a appreciation song that she'll always love you, but she's carrying on her own. and she did break off on her own, and she became mega famous. Whitney Houston redid it, same words, but made it depressing as hell and a really needy
Yeah.
song. So it's interesting, same songs, but different intent with different meanings. You know what I mean? So it's just so interesting when you look at these. And again, there is no blanket for everything, but
No.
just figuring it out, right?
Well, and here, yeah. So here's the thing. I think,
What do you think?
and not saying this, but you. Well, before I do that, so I'm cheating. Michelle doesn't know I can do this. So, um, music. I I think music. Like you talk about them being love songs, or different things, or pain songs, whatever, right?
Yeah,
So I'm an artist. I write songs. It's what
right.
I do, right? I'm not famous. I'm not as famous as Kenny Rogers or anything, but
Yet,
yeah, right.
how do you use the
But
word
that's
yet?
what I do, right?
That's
So
right.
there's people that write songs to try to win $1 million or do whatever, and there's people that are songwriters or their stories, right? And so
Yeah,
what happens is, and this, just so you know, this whole idea of storytelling in songs, because it's really, for the most part, outside of like I don't know, disco or whatever they do now, like the rave stuff. And I've got a friend who does festivals for 10 thousands of people, like in
yeah,
Vancouver and Whistler,
yeah,
and he's this DJ thing.
yeah.
Don't understand it. I'm okay with beat, not don't understand. Why I understand is not my thing, right? But the storytelling part of music came out of minstrels, and they came out of back in Europe. Now I'm pretty sure it was happening in China and other parts of the world, Africa, right? Didgeridoo, Australia, right? But you had these people that were using tones and these things, but they began to start telling stories with the songs. That was the minstrel traveling around with his little guitar thing, right? But here, listen to this. Tell me right away if you know this song.
If anybody knows, feel free to put in the chat. Oh, yeah,
Like those songs are iconic, right? So the
right.
reason I want to play that, if I get any infringements and go to jail,
It was
whatever.
short. You should be fine. It was
Yeah.
short.
Drops of Jupiter
Yeah.
is a song, right? So here's the thing: it's like poetry. It's like I love spoken word and I love slam, like so these things. But everything has, it's like, you know what? It's like food. We know food, right? So
Mm.
sometimes you want pizza, and sometimes you want a salad. Sometimes you want hot dogs or bologna sandwiches. For some people don't want that ever. My son, right? But there's something. So one of the courses I have on my list, I haven't started it yet, but I paid for it, is to do with music therapy. And
Oh, good. You'll learn about vibration.
and
Very
so
interesting.
so everybody, we know this, like if you have people now that'll go on Sunday, sometimes it's church people, not always church people, but they'll go to old folks home and they will do music. They'll sing like maybe old songs, whatever. I've got
Yep.
friends that are like a 3-part harmony, and they sing like old 50
Well,
songs or
lots
whatever,
of
right?
people do that here.
Yeah. So you got people that do that. You've got this thing about how so I'm talking about music now, not even lyrically. I'm talking
No,
about
no.
music.
Yep.
BJ Thomas, you remember him? He wrote a song. I was gonna say I Got a Feeling, but then I'm thinking I Got a Feeling, not that song. He wrote a song, and the lyrics were, "Music is a universal language, and love is the key."
Oh, there you go. Yep.
I believe in music. That's what it was called, from probably the 80s, right?
Mm.
So you've got these people that have different lyrical gifting, like poetry or Shakespeare or whatever, right? So all of a sudden, talk about the songs that you were talking about. All of a sudden, you've got somebody and then you have people that are incredibly gifted with orchestrating or kind of bringing
Yep.
music part together. That's why collaborations, right? One of my favorite bands, love them to death, Coldplay. Love Coldplay. And the song Yellow. You've probably heard that song Yellow.
probably.
but the song Yellow is about his, I believe, so I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but his sister being sick, right? And so it's her journey through going through sickness, right? So it's an so here's the funny thing to me is you can have a song that somebody goes, oh, that's horrible, whatever, and somebody else, they're not picking up that vibes of the song. It doesn't mean, like when you said about jumping that, I knew some, I didn't know them all, right? But for
Right.
me, I'm going, not being insensitive, but the guy who's telling the story on Jump, Van Halen, whoever wrote the song, right?
Yeah.
I, I'm not. That's not pulling me into a dark world, right? It's like
Right.
one of my favorite songs, "Wanted Dead or Alive," right? Love that song, right? You know that song?
I do. Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Do you know what it's about?
No idea.
Me either. To me, it might sounds like a Western movie, Clint Eastwood, maybe. It's
I'd have to.
you
It's
got to
been
look
a
it up
long
now.
time since I've heard it. Yes.
Oh, Gwen, you're gonna get like a present or something. Perception and perspective, Gwen.
There we
So,
go. There we go.
let's go here. We're journeying, which is so good. Journeying, the band Journey was good. I saw them live, but journeying.
Yeah.
When you look at our life, and like we know more now today than we knew 20 years ago or 40 years ago, and of everything, good and bad. We know maybe
Oh, for
like the
sure.
internet. We
Yep.
know with the internet, horrible stuff, right?
Yeah.
There was just a
We're
brutal
too connected, I think. Too
there was
connected.
just a brutal shooting in the States. A young 14-year-old kid went to school and killed 4 people.
Oh, was there?
And so now they're going through. So now here's the funny thing, talking about our culture. So we didn't have that before, but we still have people doing evil before, right?
How do
But
you know we didn't have it before if we weren't connected enough to have that news?
but you know what?
Throwing it out there.
But we go talking about music. We had people that we had, I don't remember, must have been the 80s, I think. We had people being sued for their lyrics, telling people like go to shoot and all that. You had bands that were being sued, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
And so perception is great, and it's this thing of influence. So let's leave the negative. So the thing on here, a 14-year-old kid goes and shoots 2 students and 2 teachers. So they don't know why. They're going to try to figure out. They're going to go through his internet and his emails, all this stuff. That's what they do. They're trying to find understanding, and sometimes you don't. So back to music, right? You know Joe Rogan is?
What? Joe
You know
Rogan?
Joe Rogan is?
Yeah.
I thought so. I just checked and checking. Um, on one of our long trips from Alberta, we listened to Joe Rogan's show, and he was interviewing the scientist deGrasse.
Yeah, you said that. Yeah, Neil
Yeah,
deGrasse.
I said this before, right?
You did,
So
you did.
one of their 3-hour podcasts, so we're good. And I said this before, probably live, but to Michelle. So they're talking about science and space and this and that. And deGrasse's, like him or not, he's just a smart guy. He might not agree, whatever, even with Joe Rogan. I don't agree with everything with Joe Rogan, but he's done well, right? So they at one point they were talking about Joe Rogan as asking deGrasse. He goes like, "So what do you think?" He goes, "I have artistic friends, musicians that write songs and stuff." And he was talking about writing songs under the influence like of mushroom, like drugs, mushrooms, whatever. Nothing crazy, right? And he goes, and they tell me that they're more aware and they can write. And so deGrasse had this, he's a scientist, right? So he had this great thing. He goes, well, like, I don't know. He wasn't saying no, he's not the musician, but he goes, I'd like to understand the science behind it. And he's not being he totally done in such like a very kind, and he says like people say things like if there's an alien or this or all water is poison, you know what I mean, whatever it is, right? He goes, as a scientist, I want some type of verification proof. Doesn't mean we all have to, right? So the reason I'm bringing
that's not provable,
is
right?
back to songwriting.
Yeah.
These artists here, Rabbit Trail, Michelangelo, Picasso, his stuff looks like he was on something, right?
Yeah,
You see some of his works that's worth millions of dollars. So Renaissance. So this expression of the artist. We know people that were Frank Zappa. I grew up like he was just so weird. I liked him, right? But you
sure.
had these people that had this artistic gift and how they would express it in word in any art, music and painting, whatever. Edgar Allan Poe, another one. And Edgar Allan Poe died when he was young.
Right,
Huge influence by a few things he did, right?
right.
So it's an interesting thing of how, like, why was he famous? Why did that become so interesting? By the way, fantasy, Lord of the Rings, when it was written by Tolkien, right?
Yeah.
Why? What was it in this thing of fantasy that people were looking for? And to me, the reason I'm saying it's the same thing with music. Have you been to? Yeah, thanks, Gwen. Yep, Frank was incredible. Frank Zappa was like insanely genius musically and
Right.
everything, right? I saw him live, Gwen, bragging. But it's so use the artist, put them there, and why they write these songs like Marilyn Manson, like weird, like so. But you know what I
Love
mean.
it.
But
Love
but it's an expression. Yeah, I'm not offended. See, I don't. And the influence is interesting because I'm not going to go jump off a bridge because I listened to a song.
Well, and you know what? If I can say, so
You can't. Go ahead.
when my kids were growing up, the boys, they were big Marilyn Manson fans, Alec more so, Eminem, and Disturbed. Are you familiar with the band Disturbed?
Who?
Disturbed.
Yep.
Okay. I joined the running room. I was in this running club and I'm aging myself. This is back when you just had an iPod. No, we didn't have cell phones or anything. So I said to Alec, A, I don't know how to put music on this thing or even figure it out. And B, can you do that for me? So he said, okay. So the risk you take when you do that to your 16-year-old son is you never know what you're getting. I got the best running music. It was Manson. It was it was Eminem. It was some collaborations between people I don't know and some people I do know. Disturbed was on there. Great running beat for Michelle. Like literally, I wasn't really paying attention to the songs. And then for Christmas or something, I don't know, we Disturbed was coming to London and we took them and I didn't really know what I just knew those couple songs. One of the best concerts I've ever been to, some of the nicest people I've ever seen, and they were so awesome. They saw um a guy in a wheelchair. They were sort of on the stage and they saw a guy in a wheelchair. They stopped the concert, went down, picked him up, put him on the side of the stage, said, "Can you see us now?" And they carried on and they talked. They're on some different clips talking here and there. So I used it for a different purpose. But then, and of course, with Marilyn Manson, for example, I'm selective of what I listen to that he sings. I don't listen to all the stuff. I know some pretty raunchy stuff about him, from Al going and seeing him in concert, that sort of thing. But it certainly served the purpose because I needed the beat. But if I can circle back, have you ever seen any of the videos? And I sort of looked for one, but I'm not going to share anything I haven't pre watched. So I'll find one and I'll put it on the page. But have you ever seen people with severe Alzheimer's or dementia and they put the headset on and it can take them from almost being in a comatose state to back because it's that emotional recall, right? It puts them back in a time. It'll be Elvis or the twist or things like that. And it triggers happy memories and it literally brings them back out. So it's way more powerful than we give it credit to for, whether it's lifting us up or keeping us locked down. And that's why it's so important for mental health.
Yeah, and you're right on. There's documentation now medically where
Yeah.
they use music, right? We
exactly.
obviously know, yeah, Gwen, animals is, yeah, it's
And
so,
plants.
yeah, me and Michelle were a long time ago talking about plants, about the plants are so interesting because if you think, if, like, I'm not saying a plant like, I don't know, I'm not on the whole world stuff, but there's something interesting about plants and how they respond to not just vibrations, but to
Sure,
light and to all these things, just the way a plant is biological makeup, right? But
that's right.
there is proof. So what Michelle said, so again, some of the therapy stuff that I'm, of course, I'm taking stuff that I've learned and done, right? So sometimes people will know this, or might know this. So sometimes we'll use mental health just because that's our area, right?
Yeah,
So you'll have somebody in mental health that seeing a therapist or whatever, like getting support, right? And all of a sudden they're something, say manic, or they're overtly anxious and overwhelmed in these things, right? So we know these little things to deal with those triggers. We may say, okay, close your eyes, count to three, focus on your breathing, collarbone tap, right? So there's
exactly.
these distractional things. So there's studies showing, I don't know about Elvis and all that, by the way, and I'll find them and share them, or I hope I will. Is so there's studies where you have people in old age homes where they will use the headphones, but they will put I don't know if it matters, but it's soothing music. It would be kind of our uh, gentle. It could
It's
be
the
even water.
vibration.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
That's right.
so they'll put them on, or like if they're panicking to calm them down. Down syndrome
Yep,
people. So all of a sudden, using music, leaving lyrics out.
yeah,
But
exactly.
I'm not saying they're. So all of a sudden, I think back in our days, like Rebel Yell, Billy Idol.
Hmm.
I have no. I'm assuming with the word Rebel Yell, he was yelling about something. I don't know what he's talking about, but there was something about that was the fist pump song. Remember?
It was absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The band Kiss, like for all of us Kiss lovers, their drummer wrote one song. Well, I think he collaborated, but he wrote one song on the album. Drummer, the guy looked like a cat, and Peter Chris was his name, and he wrote a
Yeah.
song called Beth.
Yes. I love that song.
It was about his wife.
Yep. Missing him.
The only song that Kiss has ever done, I've seen Kiss live too,
Me too.
that was not like party all the night long type of stuff, right?
Yep.
That was their, and they were marketing, so they were writing songs outside of that song, I believe. They weren't a gimmick, but they, like, same as with Alice Cooper. Alice Cooper's got some incredible, interesting songs that are different than the genre he writes. I've seen Alice Cooper, I think, 4 times. I saw him a couple years ago in where I live.
You know who else is like that is Kid Rock.
Kid
His
Rock.
he started out with the heavy swearing, get your attention.
Yeah,
And then once he got famous, a lot of his stuff he switched to country. Or what's the one? There's one song I have on my station, and it's a Kid Rock song. I can't remember, but I'll send it to you. But every time it's on the radio, because I tune in my kitchen and it starts playing, I'll say, "Who do you think this is?" To anybody walking by. Nobody ever guesses. It's Kid Rock because he started out the way he
yeah,
did, right?
yeah.
Exactly.
But see, that's the journey again, right? So again, like Elvis for old people. But see, people go Elvis. You know what's funny? My saying, we know what we know, we don't know what we don't know. So
Yeah.
the truth is, we don't know a lot. There was an I'm a movie guy, right? There was a movie. So in the last 5 years, there's been movies about Freddie Mercury. There's
Oh
been
yeah.
movies about
All
Elton
of them, I
John.
think. Yep.
There
Yeah.
was, so I've seen those. I find those, they're sad, but they kind of now give kind of a back view of these people, which they're human beings, they're people, right? And
Of
if
course.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to be famous, well, I mean, we like the money, but uh, you just
Pros
can't.
and
You can't
cons,
Britney
right?
Spears type thing, right? But there
Right.
was a movie out there which was intriguing, by the way, and it was in English. It was about the Beatles, but the Beatles weren't ever there. But this Indian guy who plays music, um, he shares all these Beatles songs and nobody hears it, and they think he's writing these songs, and he's going like, "Don't you guys know the Beatles?" It's hilarious.
That's
Um,
funny.
but I'll find it and post it, right? But
Okay.
this idea, and your Bob Dylan, the way he wrote in the funny thing about Bob Dylan, his whole Dylan's life and music was a whole spiritual experience, more so than we know about a lot of other people, right?
That's right. Yeah,
Neil Young, I love Neil Young. Rust
me
Never
too.
Sleeps, one of my favorite albums. I got to see Neil. One of my favorite bands still, and I have a DVD of like old concert, is Jethro Tull.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah,
And so it's funny because I look back and I go, why did I like what I like? 'Cause I'm kind of a
exactly.
curious guy,
It's a
right?
great question.
They were minstrel storytellers. Yes, was different. So it's interesting how our perception, there we go, on why music, in looking at our past, right? But why was this influence? Was it culture? Was it
Yeah,
raised in the homes we were raised in, right?
yep.
Um, but I find it, bring it up to today, because we're over, but who cares? People like us still. We got like I don't know, we're into 20s people on here. We've got a good group. But think about music now for you, right? So music is very therapeutic and I'm gonna say, in a way, to me, it might not matter what style. Like if you're Michelle listening to Manson or doing whatever, I when I go do a treadmill at the gym, I listen to indie artists, indie folk. I just like individual
Oh, yeah.
independent writers, right?
I don't listen to any of that other stuff anymore. I'm
Yeah.
very
So
controlled.
it's interesting. And then at home, sometimes I just want quiet, by the way. And then
Yeah.
sometimes on my guitar, and this is kind of my style of guitar. I've got arthritis. I got here trigger finger. There we go. So I'll sometimes just play. Nobody's here. Lights are out. The sun is,
Yeah.
falling. It's getting night,
Yeah.
and I'll play like two or three chords repetitively,
Exactly. That's right.
repetitively,
Soothing
and and
vibration.
there's a soothing component, right? It's
Yeah.
like, again, everybody close your eyes for a minute if you're on here, unless you're driving. Don't close your eyes. And it's like closing your eyes and talk about the power of sound. So even take music with sound, and you have things where you close your eyes and you picture like being on a beach, and the sun is setting and the waves are coming in and you can just hear the waves.
It's
You
called
just hear the waves,
meditation.
right? So
Meditation.
meditating. We're meditating right now,
Yeah,
but
we are.
if the thing in that, there is a medicating, there's a medicinal component to music.
Yeah, 100%.
You
And
said
it's
something a
perfect.
long time ago, and then we'll leave it. You talk about in between Bad Husband 1 and Bad Husband 2, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And this sense of needing to let out an aggression or this pain or rage,
Exactly.
where we want it, right?
That's right.
That's normal. I mentioned
Sure.
here, but I tell some people dealing with really hard pain and rage, scream therapy.
Of
Go
course.
go somewhere nobody is, so they don't think you're
Yeah.
crazy. You might be
Yeah.
crazy. Scream your face up. So there's something about letting it go. And
Yeah.
you talked about early influence.
Yeah.
There is something, but we're all wired different. Somebody may be more sensitive. Like Teresa cannot watch any type of drama, suspense,
Right.
or war movie. It triggers her like you see it on her.
Yeah.
I can watch that, means nothing. I can watch The Walking Dead and I'm not like disgusted by a zombie. I find it intriguing how they live and how they try to survive, and
Because
who
it's
doesn't.
based on a true story, right?
The Walking Dead?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's happening right now. Right.
We're
But
not going
so
there.
so you know what I mean, right? So
But with
with
music,
music,
it's the same.
what will affect somebody to do
Yeah.
something not healthy isn't gonna do it for a
Well, or
person.
it just, yeah, or it just doesn't resonate with you.
Yeah.
So, and it can be like I had a really great Reiki treatment, which is like energy work. And the girl that did it, she played this beautiful music in the background. It really resonated with me. It helped me just, no words, just helped me really calm down. So then I'm in the vehicle. She gave me a copy of it on a CD. This is back when we had CDs. So then I'm in the car and I said to my friend Linda, "Oh my gosh, Linda, I had this great treatment and I really resonated with this music. I want you to listen to it." We got about, oh my gosh, a minute in, and she's like, "Seriously, will you turn that off?" She goes, "I just feel yucky." So it was not her vibration. It wasn't aligning with her properly. And it's the same a lot of times when you hear like really heavy music, sometimes with rap music, sometimes things that are a lot of screaming, because it's the pitch, it's the vibration that you get. So,
Oh yeah.
finding something that makes you feel good. And I do agree, it's interesting because when I was in that time period, I was angry. So Alanis Morissette was my girl. And then that's when I switched over to Jewel and Shania Twain. So I went from angry, I'm gonna smash up your car, which I did not for the record, to empowered. I don't need a guy, right? Shania Twain, like I mean, some of her music is so empowering. So I did that transition, but I needed the first step. And that's the
Yeah.
whole point of today is you don't want to stay with all sad music or all angry
Yeah.
music, and then you walk away into the grocery store and you're angry because the bread's too expensive or whatever, right?
Well, and in that, so kind of we're bringing the plane down, people.
Okay.
So so
Don't
in
jump
that, here's
off.
a question. Here's a question to ask yourself, right? Is so we're talking about music, but we talk about lots of stuff. We talk about food. We talk about energy. We talk about all of these influential things, right?
Yep.
So as we get older, as I'm getting older, and I've said this probably dozens of times here. I say this all the time too. The benefit of for me of getting older is I have with wisdom and experience, I can look back in my life and I
Exactly.
see something, even if I wasn't aware, music or whatever be then, I now have that wisdom experience. So
Mm.
when we talk to our kids, not that we're trying to be know-it-all, we sometimes will say that. We'll say like, so the power of music. So first of all, I love storytellers, right? Storytelling. So the musical tones and all that. There's some people that like I know people that have very sensitive ears, so there's certain
Absolutely. Picture.
mechanically in their ear tones,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
But in and I believe this is what I believe in this idea, even if you don't think, oh, I'm not a storyteller or whatever type thing, I think you may be, but you don't like it's not the verbiage you would use, right?
Yeah, you're not
Because there's
practicing.
something about unless you live under a rock, and I'm not even judging you for that, right? If you live in an island with no internet, you're not watching us right now, so not.
Oh, true
But
enough.
but I always use movies for me. So if you want to know me, if you guys were my counselors or therapists, right? And you were to use the information you've gotten on here, so you would have certain information about certain things, right? The thing that you would ask yourself, you would go, it's interesting. So this would just going to apply to music, by the way. It's interesting the types of movies that Tom bends towards in this
Yep,
time, right? And
exactly.
if you listen to the movies, the Peanut Butter Falcon, the van, the old lady lived in the van, Into the Wild, the guy that goes and does his journey, right? The Walk is another one. If people want to watch a really great movie called The Walk with Emilio Estevan,
Yep,
and right, you've seen it, right?
I've seen it.
So these types of movies, for me, they're storytelling journey movies, right? Marvel, can I watch Marvel? Whatever, it's fine. It doesn't grab me, right? Star Wars, right?
Me
Um,
neither. Mm.
but so for us, like if we were doing something fun here, you don't have to do this, but if all of a sudden if I said, tell me, don't hurt your brains, just tell me your 10 songs that you like right now that you listen to, and tell me, or 5 songs and 5 movies. And if you tell me those, I can probably pick up something
Oh,
about you, right? One of
absolutely.
my favorite movies, Beaches, Bette Midler. Have you not seen that?
I don't know.
Bette Midler and her friend. It's got the
Oh,
saddest song at the end. It's like Pay It Forward type thing, right?
okay. Beach.
At the end, her friend's dying, and she's on the beach with her friend. That she's got a blanket over. She's dying. Whoever, if you've seen Beaches, make a comment. So I watch a lot of movies, Michelle, that trigger an emotive
Mm.
response from me
Why do you do that?
because I think it's healthy.
Does
It's
it
not
make you
for me.
feel better?
It's
Like, I'm just curious.
none of your business. No. um, as I'm getting older, I realize, like, I hated the gym, I said before, but I realized that hitting a place where I'm pushing my limit. I think more men, by the way, and this is my counseling thing, I think, and I actually tell them to do something as I tell them to do this. I think it's very easy, more so for men. I just, the gender thing I shouldn't do, but I'm just saying this. It's more easy to disconnect and make excuses, even like
Oh, of
back
course.
with your
Yeah.
parents, like, oh, I'm the breadwinner and the wife is the emotional, raising the kids, whatever, right? That's all, I think, malarkey, right? We were created, and I do believe there's difference, by the way. I
Yeah.
believe we all have the difference to have some of the male and female qualities.
Absolutely.
So I'm not even joking. Half the men I'm dealing with now, that I've been dealing with for over a year, half of them, so I'm not even joking, 50% of them are things are happening. They're getting in touch. They're realizing why they've hid
Yeah.
things in shame and pain,
Yeah.
and they're
Nobody's
emotively
going to be
they're
surprised.
they're connecting
Absolutely. Yeah.
because.
And it's their upbringing, right? It's their whole life up until now.
So let me ask you a question, then you finish off, and then we'll go because we're quarter after. With
Okay.
you talking about that, so not going to a lot of detail, just a general experience question, right? You mentioned about husband one, husband two. So leaving out the bits and bobs, right? I would make an assumption, just make an assumption
Yep.
that at some point they were disconnected. They were in some way they were disconnected from you as a spouse, a partner, right?
In
On
these
some.
moments, oh, we're completely done. This was
What?
me living on my own.
No, but I'm saying, like, I'm talking about men. I'm kind of using men. Sorry if you're a guy. I'm sorry, right? But a lot of times, men in relationships, they try to be like the knights, and then
Oh,
if they don't have their,
absolutely.
so I find men have a harder time on a humanistic level of relating, connecting, right?
Right, right.
um it's and so the reason I was using your example of spouse one, spouse two,
Yep.
obviously, and you've said to me privately, none of us are perfect, we bring our own stuff, like,
Oh,
we have
of
stuff,
course. That's right. I own
but
my car.
I know you enough. You're not a
Mhm.
mean person, you're a kind person, you're a patient person. So at some point there was a big disconnect,
That's right. Absolutely.
and sometimes it could be played out in how they treat us, right?
Right.
So in that, back to the thing about men, I have some men, I say, find something that's going to crack the egg. Sometimes it's music,
Yeah,
like,
that's right. Or
maybe,
replaying a scenario in your
yeah.
head
You
and
don't
really
have to get
being,
drunk to cry.
that's right.
That's my new song. That's my new album I'm writing.
That your new country song?
Yeah. You
Yeah.
don't have to get drunk to cry.
Mhm. But
Let
it's
me
so
tell you
true,
why.
especially when you think about because even though I am a girl, I was raised with all, like, I didn't have sisters growing up. So I saw the different, it's so funny. I was telling Alice the other day, Alice is my granddaughter, she'll be 10 in December. And I was telling her about when I was growing up, there were girl chores and boy chores. So we all had different chores. And then when my brothers, they're 5 and 7 years older, when they moved out or got jobs or whatever happened, then I still had the girl because I got allowance. So I still had my girl chores. But if I wanted to pick up some of their boy chores, I got extra money for it. So it
Right.
was just interesting. But I remember the same thing. Like one of the biggest, now mind you, this go went for me too. Stop crying before I give you something to cry about. Common scenario. And you did.
Right.
You stopped crying, right? Like my parents didn't tolerate that. You couldn't like, and it's, whatever, it is what it is. But we're all, it's just like when I said before, your mom's your biggest bully. That's not in a bad, it is what it is.
Yeah.
She's the corrector. So you didn't stick the fork in the plug or, cut your sister's bangs or whatever it is. But at the same time, there's going to be some other things that come through. And of course, we always have to throw them a bone. They were doing the best that they could. If every generation's doing a little bit better, eventually we're going to get there. But it takes work, kindness,
Yeah.
and just realizing that these are all the things that make you who you are.
They knew what they knew.
That's right. And when they didn't until they did.
Yeah.
That's the new one.
Yeah. And
Exactly
that
right.
and in the end of it, like even with us doing these shows and you guys jumping in and
Being awesome.
we're Michelle and I are on this journey. I've she shared a few times. We weren't raised together. We've known each other for how many years? 20 years now?
Uh, over 30, I hate to
Was
say.
the first reunion 30 years ago?
Well, no, we met on a phone call, actually. But the first time we met face to face, 20 years, yeah, maybe 20 years, when you
Well,
came
it was the
to
airport
the
where
airport looking for Tina and found me by mistake.
see I'm gonna end with this. I'm gonna end today, unless you got a quote.
No, I'm good. Go ahead.
I'm gonna end with this.
Share your story
Michelle's telling on me, which is great. I love that we can look back.
and laugh.
I flew from Vancouver to Toronto. Michelle, how did you get to the airport, Pearson? A
I
bus?
took the Robert Q, which is a bus. And if I can add to this, so I got a phone call. I'd scheduled my Robert Q for first thing in the morning, and you prepaid and everything. And I got a call from Teresa, Tom's wife, while I was half asleep the night before, saying something, 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 the flight's delayed. So I was like, okay. And
I
I'd already
remember that now.
paid. Yeah, I'd already paid. And keep in mind, we know hardly anything about each other. So I was in college at the time and I was missing because it was an Easter weekend. So it was also, I don't know, something big was coming up. So I had my backpack. Do you remember I had my backpack with all my schoolwork? So I thought, well, that's okay. I'm going to take the Robert Q. Remember, I didn't have a credit card back then. Nobody had cell phones. It was a payphone.
The
So
dark ages.
pardon me?
The dark
Yeah,
ages.
exactly. So I went and I waited and I waited and I waited and I was like, what the heck? And I'm watching, and I think I only knew the type of flight that you were on, but I didn't know anything. And I went to the desk and I was like, yeah, my brother's coming. Can you tell me what flight he's on? And then I think they couldn't tell me. And then I was like, is his last name Paul? I don't know if his last name's Paul. And then they're like, are you sure it's your brother? And I'm like, yeah, I'm totally sure.
We're playing
He's
the question
coming.
game.
Yeah. And meanwhile, internally, part of me is having a great day because I love people watching. So I'm enjoying that. I had a couple bucks, but not a lot. I was a starving student. And then I would open my books and I was doing homework or reading. They give you the reading